What up, snitches? I'm the Animaniac, and I'm not done talking about Mukpuddy this year. Today I'm going to cover the shorts they did for the 48-hour film competition. So the 48-hour film competition is where teams of filmmakers, write, shoot, and edit a short film in 2 days and present it in order to win prizes, mainly a trophy. Teams are given a genre for their movie, and it had to include a certain character, a prop, and a line of dialogue. And teams who specialize in animation have lacked presence in the competition because the medium is so time-consuming that a short couldn't really be pumped out and delivered in 2 days. That was until 2007 when Mukpuddy entered the contest the year after they got their foot in the door with Sparkle Friends. This is Camp Fear. So two monsters are assaulted by an even scarier one while out camping one night. Before I get into this, I've noticed a good chunk of you who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you guys really want to be the first to know when a new one will be up, be sure to ring that bell after you subscribe. My next goal is 500 subscribers, and only you can help me get there. And if you'd like to see my future reviews early, subscribe to me on Rumble. Link is in the description and pinned comment below. The genre they drew for this short was horror. One of the characters had to be a hypochondriac, one of the props is to be a rope, and one of the lines of dialogue was, "What do you call that?" The production for their first 3 shorts were documented. I guess they felt like they didn't want to feel like they were cheating. Regarding how this short was made, there's perhaps one thing to note about it. It was their only entry to be delivered with 3 hours to spare. This was recorded and included in the 2020 documentary about them in the early 2010s. Camp Fear won the Auckland final, and it was the first animated short to win in the national finals. And there will be full spoilers for all 4 shorts. So if you want to watch them and still want to be surprised, you can find them on Mukpuddy's YouTube channel. The links are in the description. Watch them and then come back for this review. Mukpuddy were a year into making animation for television at this point, so the design for the short is on the simpler side. The backgrounds are colored in a handful of shades of purple. There are a handful of different backgrounds, including one where it's black except for a few trees getting smaller as Jerry runs away. That's the most complex shot in this short. The leads, Sid and Jerry, are orange and blue, which stands out against the purple. That's all well and good, but since they are in the early years of their animation television career, there's still very limited animation, and it's very noticeable with Jerry when he's freaking out over this short's monster. That animation doesn't do Jeremy Dillon's voice acting proper justice. The short's leads are a living orange with a high-pitched voice named Sid, played by Ryan Cooper, and a blue hypochondriac square named Jerry, played by Jeremy Dillon. Dillon had been with Mukpuddy during their early years. Along with Jerry, he had also voiced Gunji on Sparkle Friends and came up with the idea for It's the Poos before leaving the studio for bigger and better things, like Create the Mo Show. Sid's story about a killer with a dirty knife, which freaks out Jerry, and another, which features a character I'll talk about later, making Jerry run off into the woods, trying to escape, makes him come off as someone who likes horseplay a little too much. Ryan Cooper puts on a high-pitched voice with a slight New Yorker accent for Sid, something he's still able to do if you check out Jojo the Jellyfish from Quimbo's Quest, and when he acted out lines from Bad Jelly the Witch while promoting their up-and-coming adaptation of the Spike Milligan book. Jerry's character of being a hypochondriac is hammered in many times in the beginning of the short, freaking out at a dirty knife that Sid was holding, the skin of the marshmallow melting off, and a ghost coming out of his inhaler. His anxiety spikes when he hears the story of Chinaman. I played the clip because what he said is a racial slur. The character isn't really described well in the creepy-sounding song Sid sings. It just lists a bunch of things associated with the Chinese.
Run away, or it's your turn to get that Chinese rope burn, chow mein, fried rice, really cheap merchandise, Chinaman.
I don't don't want you guys to harass the Mucks or anyone who works for them or call for a boycott of their shows because of this. Okay? Okay. This gets Jerry to run off into the woods where he's attacked by him, but it wasn't shown. It shows up at the campsite to choke out Sid with a rope after he was roasting one of his hands in the fire. Don't ask. I don't know either. He's able to escape very easily by chewing through the rope, and when the monster foolishly steps into the fire, his attire disintegrates, revealing that Jerry was the monster. But then the real Jerry appears behind Sid. Then another Sid appears behind the second Jerry, and then it pulls out to reveal that they're on a camping trip for monster twins, and one of the rules was that people couldn't bring their evil twin, something that Sid admonishes Jerry for, even telling him to stay at home. The ending doesn't make much sense when it's shown that Jerry is okay after he was attacked in the woods. Also, if they were supposed to be at a camp for twins, wouldn't we have seen the banner during the opening shot of the short? So after coming back to Camp Fear, I found some more things wrong with the short that makes me think it isn't very good. While the design work is simple and the colors aren't harsh on the eyes like Sparkle Friends, the animation is very limited, it hasn't aged well, along with the inclusion of this thing, and the twist ending doesn't make much sense. I wonder if I'll have better luck with the other shorts. After this, the boys went to the States to try and sell their ideas to the big three animation networks. First, a sitcom about a family living with a literal turd called It's the Poos. It didn't get picked up, thankfully, and a show about a bumbling spy lemur called Dirk Bonsai, which also didn't get picked up, and that sucks. Then they returned to New Zealand to finish up Sparkle Friends in 2011. That same year, they re-entered the competition with their next entry, Meanie Pants, an adventure about a boy and his Sasquatch friend searching for his lost mother. The genre they had to make their short into was quest. One of the characters had to have been a bully in the past, a prop has to be a piece of wire, the line of dialogue has to be what have you got, and now they have to include a technical move, a freeze frame ending. When they documented the production for this short, the following happened. They had been awake since that Thursday up until they delivered it. They've had characters for this short and the next one, In Decay, ready to use before the competition started. One of the voices Ryan does for this short sounds similar to the one he used for Slag from The Adventures of Two Mickey Space. This time around they turned in the short with only 6 minutes to spare, with a sleep-deprived Alex Layton making a mad dash to turn it in, giving people high fives as he did it. Meanie Pants won Best Animated Film and placed second in the Auckland Final, and won third place in the Grand National Finals. Since the story of this short is a son looking for his lost mother, the character designs, more specifically the boys, is appropriately childish. In comparison to Camp Fear, Meanie Pants has more backgrounds. Some are relatively more elaborate in both setup and detail. In my best Mukpuddy cartoon countdown in January, I have called this short funny. When I mentioned that short on the list, I was in a good mood by then. Then I looked at them closely. The first bit is dumb, but still funny. It's the boy shouting into a cave, Gecko, and Bobby trying and failing to correct him.
Gecko!
Wait, are you saying gecko?
Yeah, really loudly.
That's echo, not gecko.
Then why is it so gecko-y in here?
Because it's echoey.
But the following scene doesn't have that. A flying fish comes in to give them a riddle that makes no sense even by riddle standards.
The hunger for truth can lead to confusion. But what's new, pussycat?
But it doesn't matter since they end up eating him. This wasn't funny, just dumb. One of the downsides of producing a short in 2 days. But it gets good again when Bobby and the boy, after they reunite, confront a buff orange Cyclops, who has the voice of a little girl and runs away when Bobby appears. Susan is voiced by Isla Cooper, Ryan's daughter, and when Bobby reveals a part of his past, he says he called Susan this name.
And I gave Susan a pretty awful nickname.
So what was the nickname you gave her?
Fat orange bitch.
It's not much, but Mukpuddy rarely drop expletives in their work, so it's surprising. The two leads of this short is a kid who I will call the boy because I don't know his name. It was never mentioned. As mentioned earlier, he's on a quest to look for his mother. Ryan puts on a Scottish accent for the character, which was pitch shifted in post. he would put on a similar accent for a space scrounger named Slug from The Adventures of Two Mickey Space. And Bobby is a Sasquatch who joins him in his quest. He often complains throughout it for reasons I'll get into now. Midway through the short, after they come off the waterfall and the boat they were in breaks apart, Bobby goes off on the boy saying he's tired of being drug along in the search for his mother. Bobby going off on him could be chalked up to a combination of being on this journey for 6 months, starvation because they also haven't eaten during that time, and having a fish scale jammed in his gum. And aside from Bobby bringing up the boy's instances of bullying, despite it never being shown in the short, this moment is decent, but only up until its impact is undermined later when Bobby comes back to help him against another monster. So the boy and Bobby find his mother, who was the short's narrator, and free her from her cell. The boy opens it up with an unbent clip he had, which Bobby flips out over because he had a scale jammed in his gums since they ate fish. There's a twist involving the mother they throw in at the end. A guy from a boat they rode on earlier in the short says she's a mass murderer. Some of the lines from the beginning of the short are said again before she laughs over the credits. Meanie Pants is definitely a step up from Camp Fear. It's more visually ambitious, its style is appropriate, its story is straightforward, but there's a bump in it. Them breaking up makes very little sense, even when you find out that the Sasquatch used to be a bully, and the humor is dumb but funny, plain dumb, and then works in the end. The following year, Mukpuddy put out 3 things: a timely but dumb Transformers parody named Pocket Protectors, a Christmas special that would one day be spun off into the Barefoot Bandits, Missing Christmas, and this year's entry into the competition, In Decay, a zombie love story. Like what the title suggests, this is a love story about 2 zombies set several decades after a breakout has destroyed a city. In Decay this time is a romantic comedy. A character has to be named Nicky Brick, the prop is a leaf, a line of dialogue to be used is, "I did that," and the film technique they had to use was slow-mo. In the production documentary for this short, the following is revealed. They finished the story in under an hour. They never said when they finished the script for Meanie Pants, but Ryan managed to do so for this short by 10 p.m. that Friday. They didn't record their lines in a professional studio this time, instead recording the dialogue in a makeshift booth with mattresses. This time around they managed to get in some sleep. Ryan reportedly watched an ER marathon instead of working on the short. Maybe he could have storyboarded and animated it instead of doing what he did. And they ended up being down to the wire again when it seemed like they really shouldn't have.
That's a toxic mentality that contributes to burnout and unrealistic expectations.
I am so looking forward to dealing with you again in October. Mukpuddy won Best Animated Film at the Auckland Final again. It was a Peter Jackson wildcard for the Grand National Final where it settled for 3rd place and Best Animated Film once again. In Decay's setting is dreary and is colored that way with various dull shades of gray and brown for the buildings and ground, and the sky is a washed out red. Something to note about the character designs of our leads was that they were featured in the behind the scenes documentary for Meanie Pants, so our romantic leads have similar designs despite being zombies, and the different tone. In Decay is centered around 2 street sweepers who are zombies, Z and Nicky Brick. They bump into each other on the same street, but she's supposed to tend to another. She thanks him for showing her where to go for her first job, and Z asks her out on a date once their shifts are finished. She accepts. They partake in various date cliches, going to the movies, watching city buildings crumble from the outskirts, gift the lady a hideous shrunken head, and recreate the famous scene from Lady and the Tramp with the intestines of a corpse. Some of the bits do stray from the ordinary because they're zombies. After the montage, Z and Nicky partake in a gross French kiss. During it, one of Nicky's eyes come off to reveal a human one. Z then takes off her face to reveal it was a mask. She confesses to being human, and the reason she dressed up as a zombie was because she couldn't get anyone to turn her into one due to the fact that she's ugly. Z is shocked that she lied to him and gets away from her to be alone. He partakes in another montage of things around him telling him to be with someone despite being lied to earlier. After wandering for a bit, he comes to an in-joke electronics store where one TV is playing a documentary about a leaf hanging onto a tree. Mug comes in to quote a line that's apparently from the documentary. I Guess it relates to Z's situation. He must have interpreted it as life is too short to hold on to grudges. Except Z is a zombie. He had one date and he just found out she lied to him about who she was. So forgive me if I find it hard to believe he made a mistake. Aside from Nikki lying to Z, there isn't a lot to them outside of being zombies. I guess that's the downside of producing shorts within 2 days. The creators can't add as much depth to their characters to make a plot like this interesting, especially in a genre as creatively stagnant as romantic comedy. Another character to note in this short is Z's work friend, Mug.
Oh, poor guy. They call him that 'cause he's got a face like a rotten mango.
No, oh, offensive. It's 'cause I drink from this coffee mug. It's what I'm known for. And to a lesser extent, I'm a tad gullible.
Mainly because of the moldy voice that Ryan uses for him would be used a few more times in future projects. That same year, he'd do it for a background character in Missing Christmas, and in 2017 for Gelatoni's guards in the Barefoot Bandits episode, Too Much Too Meke. Aside from that, he just hangs around, doing nothing of real note. Unless you want to count him fiddling with the stick in a truck to back out at the beginning of the short, and his comment about how no one likes a fast-moving zombie. The ending involves Z going against his better judgment and deciding to help Nikki Brick turn into a zombie. But the way he does it is surprising. He shoves the handle of a broomstick up through her chin and slams her into the ground. It kills her, but not in the way she wanted. Love and Decay, despite its setting, is boring. The characters aren't interesting and the humor is non-existent. Mukpuddy this time took a year off from competition. The notable thing they did in 2013 was one of their best cartoons, Crumbs. You can find it on their YouTube channel. Anyway, they didn't put out their last 48-hour short until 2014, Dead End Job. A short about 2 petrol station workers having an especially bad night that neither one expected. Dead End Job is a splatter horror short. One of the characters is a liar, one of the props is a ball, a line of dialogue is "not with that you're not," and the technical shot to be used is an extreme close-up. The production of this short wasn't documented, and this is the first Mukpuddy short to not win any awards. There weren't any listed in the video's description. Coming back to this short for these reviews, I've realized something. This is a league's better version of Jandalburn. 2 young adults working at a minimum wage job they aren't fond of, a weirdo who hangs around and says and does weird things. All that's missing is an out-of-touch, technologically impaired boss and a boring, pretentious film school student. Eddie is an armchair with an American accent who in the short is shown to have a fixation on social media, in this one it's Facebook, and is foolish enough to play with a lighter in a petrol station. And Kevin is a Scottish arcade cabinet who, after witnessing a techno Walkman come in and buy some condoms, shows that he has contempt for customers and his job. Then he tries to leave early to go to a party with a teapot and a woman's wig. More on that later. Morgan is a cat in a blue sweater who hangs around the petrol station Eddie and Kevin work at. He also says very weird things that have no bearing on the scene he's in. It must be Mukpuddy making him fill the role of a liar. Now for the other awkward character in these shorts that I didn't mention.
It's a wee party. You know that chick I met last week? Yeah, she invited me along.
The teapot-looking dude in the girl's wig, man? That chick?
It's not a dude, you asshole. That's a girl with ginormous bones.
I'll refer to this character as the Teapot, just to be safe. This character is finally introduced when Eddie finds Kevin in bad shape. The Teapot stumbles in drunk and asks to use the bathroom to wash out the vomit on their long blonde wig. This character is the second victim of this short serial killer who guts the Teapot like a fish in a shot that could have worked better with some shadows considering what comes next. The killer in this short is a road cone the workers put nearby the fuel pumps to further indicate they aren't functioning. When Kevin comes out to bring it in, he notices it's gone but assumes the customer from earlier took it. I don't know why anyone would. It shows up inside the station in between the doors and on the counter. Very unassuming. Eddie brushes it aside as Kevin pranking him until he discovers him in a corner bleeding out on the floor because his legs were cut off. After Kevin dies from his injuries, the lights go out and we hear a voice air his grievances before revealing himself to be the road cone. This would have been an awesome reveal if we didn't see him make the teapot spill its guts all over the floor. He's quite the therapist for going that deep with a patient. Before he claims Eddie is another one of his victims, Morgan comes in to provide a distraction so he can set the cone on fire and they can all escape before the station explodes. Though not very funny where it tries to be, Dead End Job succeeds at being scary in all but one place. The characters all play their part fine, but the standout amongst them is the murderous road cone, and it has to be said again. Ryan Cooper has a great range of characters here, and the somewhat darker design in this short fits the story. 2 years after Dead End Job, Mukpuddy went into television, not as part of another show like they did in the past, but on their own, expanding from being the 3 of them to 15 or 20 to work on the Barefoot Bandits. And ever since 2016, they've been pumping out work with varying degrees of success, with more on the way. And they're constantly trying to expand their reach. Just recently, they're still trying to push Jandalburn outside of New Zealand and Australia by uploading the episodes to their channel. They haven't thrown their hat into the 48-hour ring since 2014, but their employees have under the name of I Love Loops, putting out shorts like Terrified and Loot and Blunder. You can find those on their YouTube channel. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment your own thoughts on the shorts if you've seen them. If you guys want to stay updated on future videos, be sure to follow me on Getter, Facebook, Tumblr, and DeviantArt. The links are in the description. And if you want to be the first to know when a new video will be up, ring that bell after you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.